Anytime Elon Musk's name comes up, the first things people think about are rockets and electric cars. Billions of dollars, or controversy. But if you strip away the noise, the tweets, the headlines, and the memes, what remains is something far more interesting and far more rare, a mind that is almost permanently living in the future. Not next year. Not 5 years from now. Decades. Sometimes centuries. Elon Musk doesn't think in quarters or election cycles. He thinks in survival timelines. He thinks like someone who believes humanity is fragile and time is running out. Most people plan life the way a weekend trip is planned. Where will I be next year? What will I earn? What will people think of me? Elon Musk plans like someone writing the final chapters of human civilization. His questions are uncomfortable, heavy, and often dismissed as unrealistic. What happens if Earth can no longer support life? What happens if artificial intelligence grows faster than human wisdom? What happens if we never become a spacefaring species? These are not questions that produce quick profits. These are questions that demand patience, obsession, and a willingness to look foolish for years. Long-term thinking is painful. It means sacrificing comfort today for outcomes you may never personally enjoy. It means being misunderstood in the present while betting on a future that does not yet exist. Elon Musk has repeatedly chosen that pain. Again and again, he has placed himself in positions where failure would be public, humiliating, and financially devastating. Not because he enjoys risk, but because from his perspective, not taking the risk would be far worse. To understand Musk's long-term thinking, you have to understand his fear. Not the fear of losing money, but the fear of stagnation. He has openly said that what scares him is not death, but the idea that humanity might stop progressing. That we might become comfortable, distracted, and trapped on a single planet, vulnerable to forces we barely understand. This fear is not abstract to him. It drives decisions that look insane to outsiders but perfectly logical inside his mental model. When Elon Musk sold PayPal and suddenly became wealthy, he didn't do what most people would do. He didn't retire. He didn't diversify safely. He didn't buy a quiet life. Instead, he took almost all of his money and split it between 3 industries known for destroying fortunes: space, electric cars, and alternative energy. Any financial advisor would have told him not to do this. Space was considered too expensive. Electric cars were considered weak and niche. Solar energy was considered slow and dependent on government subsidies. But Musk was not optimizing for short-term return. He was optimizing for long-term necessity. He believed that if humanity was going to survive and thrive, it needed to become multiplanetary. It needed to transition away from fossil fuels. It needed transportation that did not poison the environment it depended on. These beliefs were not trendy at the time. They were inconvenient. They were mocked. Tesla was laughed at. SpaceX was called a fantasy. Critics said Musk was playing billionaire games with science fiction dreams. What they missed was that Musk wasn't trying to predict the future. He was trying to build it. Long-term thinking requires a different relationship with time. For most companies, time is the enemy. Every quarter that passes without profit is considered failure. For Musk, time is a tool. He is willing to endure years of losses if it moves the trajectory in the right direction. SpaceX didn't succeed quickly. It nearly collapsed. Rockets exploded. Money ran out. Musk was reportedly down to his last funds at one point. But he kept pushing because the goal was never a single successful launch. The goal was to fundamentally change the cost structure of space travel for decades to come. This is where Musk's thinking becomes almost alien. He does not accept existing limitations as permanent. If something is expensive, he assumes it can be made cheaper. If something is slow, he assumes it can be made faster. If something is considered impossible, he assumes the definition is wrong. This mindset allows him to think far beyond conventional timelines. Instead of asking how long something will take under current conditions, he asks what would need to change to make it inevitable. reusable rockets are a perfect example. For decades, rockets were treated as disposable. Launch once, burn up, and build another. It was absurdly expensive, but it was accepted as normal. Musk looked at this and saw a contradiction. Airplanes don't get thrown away after one flight. Why should rockets? This question seems obvious in hindsight, but at the time it was revolutionary. Reusability was not pursued seriously because it was considered too hard. Musk pursued it because not pursuing it made long-term space travel impossible. The same pattern appears with Tesla. Musk was never trying to build a luxury car company. That was a stepping stone. The real goal was mass adoption of sustainable transport. But you cannot start with cheap cars. You start with expensive ones, prove the technology, build infrastructure, reduce costs, and then move downmarket. This requires patience and the ability to ignore critics who judge success too early. Tesla was called overvalued, impractical, and doomed many times. Yet Musk stayed focused on the long arc. Today, electric vehicles are no longer fringe ideas. They are the future of transportation. Long-term thinking also means being willing to be early. Very early. Too early, according to most people. Being early is indistinguishable from being wrong for a long time. This is why long-term thinkers are often ridiculed before they are respected. Musk has lived in that uncomfortable space for most of his career. He has been called a fraud, a dreamer, a narcissist, and worse. But insults matter less when your reference point is the future, not public opinion. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Musk's mindset is his relationship with failure. He does not see failure as a signal to stop. He sees it as data. Each failed rocket launch taught SpaceX something that no simulation could. Each production problem at Tesla revealed weaknesses that had to be solved for scale. This is another reason he thinks long-term. If you are focused only on immediate success, failure is terrifying. If you are focused on long-term progress, failure is tuition. Musk often talks about first principles thinking, but what truly sets him apart is that he applies it across decades. He breaks problems down to their most basic truths and then rebuilds them with a future-oriented lens. Instead of asking what is profitable now, he asks what will be necessary later. Instead of asking what people want today, he asks what they will need tomorrow. This creates a natural tension with markets, media, and public expectations, which are overwhelmingly short-term. The idea of making humanity multiplanetary is perhaps the clearest window into Musk's long-term thinking. Colonizing Mars is not a 5-year plan. It is not even a 20-year plan. It is a generational project. Musk knows he may never see its completion. Yet he works on it obsessively. This is not about personal legacy in the traditional sense. It is about reducing existential risk. If all of humanity lives on one planet, one catastrophe can end everything. If humanity spreads, survival odds increase. This is a cold, rational, long-term calculation. Many people struggle to relate to this way of thinking because it offers no immediate emotional reward. You don't get applause today for solving problems that won't fully materialize for decades. You get criticism. You get doubt. You get pressure to explain yourself over and over again. Musk absorbs this because his internal scorecard is not aligned with external validation. His sense of urgency comes from the belief that time is limited. Even if progress is slow, this urgency is often misinterpreted as impatience or recklessness. In reality, it is the opposite. It is patience applied aggressively. Musk is patient with outcomes but impatient with inefficiency. He will wait years for a vision to mature, but he will not tolerate wasted effort. This is why his companies are known for intense work cultures. From his perspective, the stakes are too high for comfort. Long-term thinking also explains Musk's interest in artificial intelligence and brain-computer interfaces. Neuralink is not about novelty. It is about future alignment. Musk fears a world where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence without safeguards. Instead of waiting for that future to arrive and reacting, He wants to build interfaces that allow humans to keep pace. Again, this is not a product designed for immediate mass adoption. It is a hedge against a future risk. Critics often say Musk spreads himself too thin. Too many companies. Too many goals. But from a long-term perspective, these projects are connected. Energy, transportation, space, intelligence. They form a coherent vision of a future where humanity is sustainable, multiplanetary, and technologically aligned. What looks like chaos in the short term looks like strategy when viewed across decades. There is also a personal cost to this way of thinking. Musk's life is famously demanding. Long hours, immense pressure, constant scrutiny. What makes Elon Musk attractive to so many people is not just his success, but his audacity. He dares to care about things that feel too big for one person. He dares to say that the future matters more than comfort. In a world dominated by short-term dopamine, instant content, and quick wins, his mindset feels almost rebellious. You don't have to agree with everything he does to learn from how he thinks. The lesson is not to build rockets or colonize Mars. The lesson is to stretch your time horizon. To ask better questions. To think beyond immediate rewards. To accept temporary discomfort for lasting impact. To plant trees whose shade you may never sit under. Elon Musk's long-term thinking reminds us that progress is not accidental. It is built by people willing to imagine futures that do not yet exist and then suffer through the present to make them real. It is slow. It is messy. It is often misunderstood. But it is the only kind of thinking that truly changes the direction of the world, and maybe that is the most powerful idea of all. The future does not belong to the loudest voices or the fastest movers, but to those who are willing to think longer, endure longer, and believe longer than everyone else.